Ibrahim ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam in the Noble Quran is mentioned to have spoken to his uncle Azar regarding polytheism, invited him to monotheism, tawheed, spoke to his nation and his people from a very young age. They had Ibrahim alayhi salam imprisoned by Nimrod. And Nimrod then took Ibrahim alayhi salam, threw Ibrahim alayhi salam into a huge fire. This group of people did not stretch out their hands to the meat. Ibrahim alayhi salam realized that these are no ordinary people. These people informed Ibrahim alayhi salam that they are actually angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who have been sent down to destroy the people of Lut alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, one of the greatest prophets alayhi salatu wassalam, subhanallah. Ibrahim alayhi salam is known famously with three titles: Khalilullah, the intimate friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala; Abul Anbiya, the father of prophets. Because after Ibrahim alayhi salam, every single prophet to be sent was from his descendants. Subhanallah. And Abu Difan, literally meaning the father of guests, meaning the most hospitable person due to his hospitality. Ibrahim, there are different narrations as to what the word Ibrahim means. Some say it is from Abun Rahim, a merciful father, and there are other narrations regarding the blessed name. Ibrahim alayhi salam was born in a region just outside the famous city of Babylon, in Iraq. Ibrahim alayhi salam was during the time of the reign of a king who was known as Nimrod bin Kin'an. Ibrahim ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wassalam resembled our beloved Prophet Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam the most. In one narration, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam describes the different prophets alayhi salatu wasalam, their physical features, and he says that he himself sallallahu alayhi wasallam has a lot of physical similarities to his ancestor, the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. It is mentioned regarding his profession. Some say Ibrahim alayhi salam was a farmer by profession. Some say he would herd goats, and others mention that he was a cloth merchant. He would buy and sell clothes alayhi salam. Meaning Ibrahim alayhi salam, despite being amongst the greatest of prophets alayhi salam, would use his physical hands to earn an income for his family. Ibrahim alayhi salam is described in the Noble Quran with so many beautiful descriptions, so many characteristics. Ibrahim alayhi salam is known for his immense generosity. It is mentioned that Ibrahim alayhi salam would go out of his house and look for people to bring home so that he could host them and have food with them. Such was his hospitality. One day Ibrahim alayhi salam goes out looking for someone to bring home so he can host them and they can eat together. He did not find anyone, and then he comes back to his house and he sees there is a man standing in his house. Ibrahim alayhi salam asks him that who he was and how he got in, and he explained that he is an angel. This man was actually an angel sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the angel informs Ibrahim alayhi salam that there is a person on the face of the earth who is so beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken that person as his Khalil, as his intimate close friend. Ibrahim alayhi salam then says to the angel, tell me who this person is. Wherever he is, whichever city he is in, I will go and I will accompany him and I will stay with him. And the angel says to Ibrahim alayhi salam, or Ibrahim, it is you. You are the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected as his intimate friend. And the reason for that was due to his immense generosity and hospitality with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. He had immense love also for salah, for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is mentioned that on one day, Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua, crying in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, O Allah, there is no one worshipping you except for me. And at that point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then sends angels to stand with Ibrahim alayhi salam in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wa salam, his honorable father, his name was Tariq. Tariq, the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam, was a monotheist, worshipped only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas Tariq's brother, Ibrahim alayhi salam's uncle, Azar was a polytheist. In the noble Quran, Ibrahim alayhi salam speaks to his uncle Azar regarding the worship of idols and refers to him as his father, as was the practice of the people that they would refer to the brother of the father as a father. Ibrahim ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wa salam in the noble Quran is mentioned to have spoken to his uncle Azar regarding polytheism, invited him to monotheism, tawheed, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spoke to his nation and his people from a very young age to bring them away from shirk and to worship only Allah and not to worship idols. He continued to invite his people, continue to invite them to the oneness of Allah, to worship only Allah, to stay away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for many, many years. Eventually the people went to their king, Nimrod bin Kin'an, and they had Ibrahim alayhi salam imprisoned by Nimrod. And Nimrod then took Ibrahim alayhi salam and threw Ibrahim alayhi salam into a huge fire. When Ibrahim alayhi salam entered this immense, fierce, burning hot fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the fire to become cold, cool and safe for Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam entered the fire and the fire did not harm him. He remained at peace and he remained unharmed amidst the burning fierce fire. After this incident, Ibrahim alayhi salam, after some time, was taken out. Ibrahim alayhi salam then had a dialogue with the king Nimrod, who himself claimed to be God. This is mentioned in the noble Quran. After the time spent in this region, Ibrahim alayhi salam then left this region with his wife Sarah. Ibrahim alayhi salam and Sarah did not have any children at this point. As they were leaving, Sarah received a gift, and that gift was that she was given a princess as a khadima, as a servant. So she was given a princess who was the daughter of one of the kings of Egypt as her khadima, somebody to serve her, due to her immense piety. And that khadima, that servant who was a princess, her name was Hajar. As they were leaving, Sarah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, said to her honorable husband Ibrahim alayhi salam that he should marry Hajar, and maybe with Hajar he will have a child. So Ibrahim alayhi salam married a second wife, the princess of Egypt, Hajar. When he married her, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Ibrahim alayhi salam his very first child, and that was the great prophet Ismail alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam then took his wife Hajar and his son Ismail and Sarah, and they lived together until a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came, which was to take Hajar and his son Ismail to a land. Ibrahim alayhi salam brought them to that land. That land was a barren land with no water, with no fruit or vegetation. That land was called Mecca, later became known as Makkatul Mukarramah. There Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered to leave his wife Hajar and his only son at that point, Ismail. Ibrahim alayhi salam fulfilled this command and left them there and went to live at another city with his wife Sarah, but would come back to see them time and time again. The story of Hajar and Prophet Ismail alayhi salam continues at this point. In regards to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam was once with his first wife Sarah, and a group of people came to his house as he was the hospitable one, and he had cooked some meat for them. This group of people did not stretch out their hands to the meat. Ibrahim alayhi salam realized that these are no ordinary people. These people informed Ibrahim alayhi salam that they are actually angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who have been sent down to destroy the people of Lut alayhi salam, who was the nephew of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. The angels said to Ibrahim alayhi salam, "We have come to you to inform you and give you the good news that you will have another son." And they informed him that he and Sarah will have another son. And not only that, they will have a son after him also, and both of them will be prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what happened. Despite being of old age, Sayyidah Sarah gave birth to her son, who is famously known as the great prophet of Allah, Prophet Ishaq alayhi salam. Later on, Ishaq alayhi salam had a son whose name was the great prophet of Allah, Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. After this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Ibrahim alayhi salam to sacrifice his son Ismail. And he, as you are aware, fulfilled this command and took his son Ismail for the sacrifice. But this sacrifice was actually a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon the point of sacrifice, stopped Ibrahim alayhi salam and gave him a ram to sacrifice instead. Thereafter, Ibrahim alayhi salam and his honorable son, the great prophet Ismail alayhi salam, were given instruction to build the Kaaba, and they together build the Kaaba, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is known as the house of Allah out of honor for the place. Thereafter, the pilgrimage became a concept, the Hajj, in the month of Dhul Hijjah. Ibrahim alayhi salam lived thereafter in Sham, in Palestine. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when his honorable wife Sayyidah Sarah passed away, he purchased a cave and had his wife Sayyidah Sarah buried inside the cave. When he himself breathed his final breath, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him to his blessed court. His sons, Prophet Ismail and Prophet Ishaq alayhim as-salam, then buried Ibrahim alayhi salam also in the same cave. This is still present today in the land of Palestine, in the city of Khalil, or in English known as Hebron, and is still visited. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower immense blessings upon His beloved Prophet, the father of prophets, the most hospitable, the intimate friend of Allah, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. If you have benefited, then please do like, follow, share, and subscribe.